Straight up, I got some Alice in Wonderland vibes from this chapter of One Piece. Like, oh my god. I talked about it a couple chapters ago with how the door and all that, it reminded me of Alice in Wonderland. But after reading this chapter, it just took me a moment to just grasp everything I was seeing, because it was just so weird. It was just so weird. Not in a bad way, of course, but it was just so weird, because it was like I was watching a Tim Burton film or something. That's exactly what it looked like. I'm like, oh my god. Like, you just see all these different creatures and objects moving around and shit. I'm like, this is some Alice in Wonderland type shit going on here. When I was reading the chapter, I'm like, my god. So Oda, you can tell he's probably having some very good fun with this, arc of One Piece. Definitely. He's having a hell of a lot of fun, because I know I would be if I was getting to do some crazy type of shit like this, writing this all down with some funky looking backgrounds and characters and stuff. It just suits Oda. It really does, because Oda has some really cool looking designs when it comes to different characters and stuff. And when you see this type of stuff, this is a type of arc that really fits Oda's art style, how he draws. And I could see how he's probably going to have a lot of fun when it comes to this arc. But the main thing is, I want to mention, is that it's not just Alice in Wonderland themes going on here. Actually a couple of Chibits mentioned on Twitter to me when I mentioned Alice in Wonderland. Many were saying, actually, it kind of reminds me of Hansel and Gretel. That's what a couple of Chibits on Twitter said to me. And I'm like, after thinking about it, looking at the chapter, I'm like, in a way it does. It does remind me of Hansel and Gretel, but maybe not to that just extent. Maybe it's a bunch of other fairy tales put together in a way. Because, I mean, look, it has Alice in Wonderland type themes going on here. But then a couple of Chibits were saying Hansel and Gretel, and I understand their viewpoint on that, because you have it to where the candy houses and stuff, the chocolate houses. It's like, from Hansel and Gretel's fairy tale. And then you have other little subtle fairy tale hints throughout here and there throughout the chapter. So, I mean, I feel like overall, this arc of One Piece is going to be very fairy tale exquisite. It's going to have a lot of themes from other fairy tales, like Alice in Wonderland, Hansel and Gretel, maybe other things out there. But it's really cool getting to see the design of this arc. It really has an interesting appeal to it that I love, and I haven't seen really much from other arcs of One Piece. But getting on to the core topic of this, chapter, let's talk about Pudding. So we get to meet Sanji's lover, or wife-to-be. And it's kind of ironic how we get to meet the personality of the person Sanji's going to be marrying before he even gets to meet her himself. And I find that very funny and hilarious, but it's very good for us as the audience, to actually get to see her personality before Sanji actually reacts to her, before he really gets to talk with her. And I was expecting throughout this entire chapter a very rotten and shitty personality. I'm sorry, I was. Because when it comes to One Piece, especially when it comes to characters that Sanji most likely could possibly be with, I think of characters that are either going to be very beautiful and have the shittiest personality, or characters that are very beautiful and have something very quirky about them that really just makes you like, nope! Or there's something to where they're just completely kind of fugly in a way. So, I was expecting one or the other happen, maybe even a trap, but apparently that did not happen. I was expecting that throughout the entire chapter. It did not happen, and I was left speechless, face this. I was like, whoa, Oda, whoa, Oda, you're fucking me up here. Like, you're fucking me up here, because, like, I expected Pudding to be, something else. Like, what? So, she is apparently a chef, and instantly, that is, like, 1,000 points for Sanji, because, look, Sanji's a chef, she's a chef. She likes to cook things to have other people finish it completely, because she was talking about that. That's a quality that Sanji would like and appreciate. The way these two react or act, and the way we got to see the personalities, like, we know Sanji's personality, but seeing her personality in this chapter, it feels like these two characters were actually meant to be. And that right there froze me for a loop, because I'm like, yo, Oda, what the hell are you gonna do here? Because if Pudding is actually a nice girl and there's nothing really wrong with her, well, Sanji really shouldn't turn her down. I mean, I gotta be honest here, why would you turn her down? I mean, seriously. And she really isn't that bad, and she doesn't have this wicked personality or something else on the side. I mean, honestly, I don't see how Sanji can honestly refuse her. And my only assumption that could possibly happen after viewing this, if she really does continuously have this personality we saw, and Sanji does like her for some reason, I wonder what's going to happen at the end of this arc, because there's only a couple of things I can think of that can happen here now. If she does fall in love with Sanji, and Sanji falls in love with her, the only things that can happen is this. A couple of things I want to throw out there. Either A, she's going to die, or Sanji's going to die, which I highly doubt Sanji will die, but she most likely dies, and causes where Sanji can't be with her, which spirals into something else when it comes to this arc. That's possibility 1. Possibility 2, we come to find out she has something hidden about her that we don't know of, and she becomes a little bit more quirky, or something else happens to where she doesn't really like Sanji, and then she throws him to the side. One or the other of that can happen. And then number 3, eventually Sanji has to make a very difficult decision. Does he stay with her and actually really marry her? Or does he go with the Straw Hats? Which I believe he has more allegiance to the Straw Hats than anything, and I believe he would choose the Straw Hats over anything else. But I'm still left questioning, how is this going to work? Maybe I could see Oda doing this. Just throwing this out there, it's hypothetical. Maybe Oda might set it up to where Sanji's like, hey, you know what, I do want to marry you, but wait until I find All Blue, wait till I find, you know, One Piece, and then I'll come back to marry you. I could see something like that happening. I've seen that from other shonen series, so I could see maybe Sanji making a promise or something like that to Pudding, and then to marry her once the journey is done. That's a possibility. That could possibly happen. Now, besides that, another thing that could happen is maybe she decides to travel with Sanji. I mean, I could see Luffy allowing her on the crew. I really could. I could definitely see Luffy allowing Pudding on the crew if everything goes well and they do marry or something. I could see Luffy say, yeah, bring her on board and all that. 2 chefs and all that, cooking candy, you cooking regular food. That's 10 out of 10 right there. I could see Luffy doing something like that. So, that's just me throwing some things out there. But overall, though, the chapter was a very glorious chapter to kind of show us some characterization to her, and also let us expect more from her, most likely something unexpected. So let me know your thoughts in the comments below. You all have a wonderful day or night wherever you live. Please be safe. Chibi out.